Okay, now let's look at the logic gates. To understand exactly how FFL works, there is a logical approximation, which means the two arms get integrated together at a promoter by the help of a logic gate. I'm sure it is it's well known to the viewers, but let me just clarify it. The AND gate and the OR gate are the most um, occurring logic gates in FFLs. In AND gate, it's it's a multiplication gate, which means both of the inputs should be present for an output to occur. Hence, 0, 0 is 0, 0 multiplied by 1 is 0, only 1 and 1 is 1. So when both arms are active, then only you get an output. For OR gate, it's a plus sign, which means either A or B could be present to give an output. Hence, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is a binary, so it has to be 1. Which means now, when one of these, either of one are present, the output is 1. So either of input A or B could be present to give an output. Now let's look at coherent type 1 FFL. In this feed-forward loop, as we know, two signs at the promoter is similar, which means transcription factor X activates the product. It also activates another factor which further activates the product. Now, this integration, as we have learned, could be either an OR gate or an AND gate. Now let's look at the dynamic of such a loop. Now this is your X, your first transcription activator, your second activator, and your third activator. And these dashed lines show your threshold value. Now when signal X comes, now let's just note that this is a really short signal. When the signal is so short, the second transcription activator is not able to attain its threshold level, which means product Z will not be formed even though you have a good number of signal over here. Hence, this FFL motif helps in ensuring that the signal has to be persistent. It cannot be transient. This is the first functional significance. Now, when you have a really long signal, and then the second TR factor is able to cross its threshold value. Once it crosses the value, then only Z starts accumulating, which means you have a delay in production of Z, but there's no delay when it goes out. This is the wonder of your AND gate of the FFL. Now, if you look at a graphical representation, okay, so and we have the delay after stimulation. There's no delay after removal of signal. Now, this is an example of the similar case in an Arabinose operon. Now, when you have your lag Z without a repressor, this is the simple regulation, which means your signal activates your TRX, which further activates the product. Now, when you incorporate a second input over here, which means now there's a delay in activation. Can you see the time? So if you look at the T half, it's way more than that. So there's a delay in activation, but there's no delay when there's removal of the signal. This is just another facial show of the same dynamic which we learned. Now, if you look at the if you look at the coherent 1 FFL with OR gate, that was with AND gate. Now, if you look at the OR gate, the dynamic would look a little bit different. Are we clear? Okay. Now, you'll have a signal, and even though you have a long signal in the OR gate, So when the signal starts rising, at that moment, both your proteins Z and Y rise together. That's because it's an OR gate. Either of the signal, when that's present, it's enough for Z to produce. But it's an OR gate, remember? So when the signal stops, even one stopping over here, even this signal stopped, Y is still active. Remember? That's why there's a certain residual activity of Y which sees that Z is further produced. Hence, there's no delay at the start point, but there's delay when the signal is removed. So this is shown something like this. In the flagellar system of E.coli, in the activation, there's no delay. It's just exactly similar. They're together. But in inactivation, now you can see a delay. And that is just because you have this OR logic gate over here, which has the residual activity of FLIA in this case, acting when even this is off. Clear? Right. So that's your coherent 1 FFL. Now, if you look at the incoherent one, which means now the two signals are different over here at the promoter. Hence, we expect a little different dynamic in this system. Now, the function of incoherent type 1 FFL is to give us some sort of a pulse. That's the first function. It gives you a pulse in the signal. And it also have something to do with the monotonousness of the signal, which is the theme of the paper which we read. If you look at the dynamic again, now in the incoherent type 1 FFL, you have a signal and okay, so when remember in this example now Y is a repressor. So when X is activated, it leads to activation of Y as well as Z. But Y does not repress Z at that time because Y has not attained the threshold value. So that's why for that time span, Z has the liberty to go and just produce itself. Once Y reaches the threshold of repression, then the repression of Z starts. Basically, this gives you a pulse nature of your incoherent type 1 FFL. This could be really helpful when you want to have a certain outburst of signal. Go and then stop, then go and stop. That could be done by this loop and it will be shown in the next example. So this is another in vivo synthetic biology example of how they've created this incoherent 1 FFL. They've just taken the LuxR gene. It's a system where if there's a signal, you'll have the GFP. So in the first instant, when the signal is present, the LuxR activates both GFP and C1. So it activates both GFP and CI, hence you get this outburst of GFP. It's on. After a certain time, when now CI has reached a certain threshold level, it starts repressing, so it's off. So you get on and off pulse of a signal.